Election day is right around the corner on March 3rd, and while there are partisan races, there are a number of nonpartisan races that you will have a chance to vote on. One of those is a circuit judge position here in Washington and Madison County, and joining us is Wendy Howerton. She's running for that spot. Wendy, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here and talk about this.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, March 3rd is going to be here so soon. Early voting begins February 17th. You are campaigning for circuit judge in Madison and Washington County. First, just tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and your background and your experience.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Wendy Howerton, obviously, and I'm running for Division 2, which covers all of Washington and Madison County. Um, but I grew up in a tiny town called Jessieville, Arkansas, which most of the people I've spoken to
Oh,
or
yeah, I
met
know
in
where that is.
met in my life have no idea where it is.
Okay.
So when I get to tell people about who I am and where I'm from, I like to tell them that I'm from Jessieville, which is slightly larger than your coffee
Oh
mug.
my gosh, I'm from Hamburg. I don't know if you know, but
I
one red
do.
light.
Well, we got one,
Yeah.
but that was after I graduated.
Okay.
I graduated with 35 people in my
Wow.
class.
Okay.
Very, very small. But I grew up there with six brothers and sisters and a mom and dad in a tiny two-bedroom,
Mm.
one-bath home with no heat and no AC.
Wow.
Which is not that common for
Mhm.
my generation.
Mhm.
But it taught me a lot of things. It taught
Yeah.
me that, if you're going to get anywhere, you're not going to have any handouts. You're going to work and you're going to earn it. And while as a child, you may not appreciate
Mhm.
that, it wasn't long before I really did appreciate how I grew up. Um, but anyway, I grew up there. I grew up in rural Arkansas,
Mhm.
obviously, and I became a runner.
Yeah. Okay.
I like to run. I decided if I was going to put myself through high school, or pardon, college, I was going to have to find a way to do that. My mom and dad did not graduate high school. My dad did not even finish junior high.
Wow.
He was one of 13 children.
Wow.
So he kind of was raised in the wild
Yeah.
by himself, by
Okay.
wolves. Um, but anyway, so I started running and I knew that I knew I was fast.
Yeah.
And as a family of that many, we would play in the yard and we would play kickball or whatever. And I knew I was pretty
Mhm.
fast when I could beat everybody to the
Mhm.
basis.
And that probably felt good too.
Oh, yes,
Your
especially with your brother.
siblings. Yeah.
Yes. So I did. I became a runner. I ran track and cross country. And one of the things is when I'm telling anybody,
Mhm.
running is not an easy sport. It is a very valuable sport because it spans your entire life. And any other sport you do, you can benefit from running. And so, but it's hard. And so I put myself through, a lot of physical pain and it paid off. It was how I put myself through college. I was able to and I think today I'm still the only Division 1 athlete that's ever come out of Jessieville. I think, so I'm not
That's
confident. Hopefully
awesome.
that
Yeah.
stays. But I was able to get a full ride to Arkansas State and I ran track and cross country there,
Wow.
as well as an academic scholarship.
Mhm. Good for you.
And then I came to law school here, paid my way through law school, and I've been here 25 years, 24 years.
So you, after ASU, you came to law school here, and you liked it so much in this area, you decided to stay.
Yes, for me, this is now home. I've always lived in Arkansas, but Northwest Arkansas is my home now. I can't really imagine living in a different part of Arkansas. Arkansas truly is a natural state. It's
Mhm.
beautiful.
Mhm.
And I've spent time in many areas of Arkansas. Jonesboro, a lot of years
Mhm.
there. Jessieville, obviously, Hot Springs area. I worked for the Forest Service when I was in junior high. So I got to see a lot of the trails and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. But Northwest Arkansas is just very special.
Yeah, and it is beautiful. You're right. So when you graduated ASU, you chose to come to law school here. Why did you choose law?
Well, so I've told people many times, there are a lot of people who can come in and say, I wanted to be a judge my whole life.
Mhm.
I did not. I know the moment I wanted to be an attorney, but I never thought I wanted to be a judge. And I'll never forget the moment I wanted to be an attorney because it left a very lasting impression on me as a sixth grader.
Mhm.
We were living, like I said, and 100 of us in a very small home. And my dad did not have work. He was a construction worker. And so we didn't have money for the rent. And mom and dad made an agreement with the landlord to work off the rent.
Mhm.
Well, that means everybody works off the rent.
Yeah.
Um, and the landlord had cattle, he had a garden, he had peach trees, all these things. So what we did is we were responsible, the children, for moving the cattle from one field to the other, because you have to swap the cattle in the fields. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
And then we have to weed the garden, pick the garden, plant it, clean the shed, all of these things. So we all had to chip in and do that for a month. And it was mainly the older three kids, which was me and my two sisters, and mom and dad, obviously. And at the end of the month, we got a bill for the rent. And it was very impactful because I remember mom and dad arguing over that, and mom saying, "This isn't right. This isn't fair. If they wanted us to pay, we would have paid, but we've already done the work."
Yeah.
And dad's response was, "I don't know what we can do. What are we going to do? We can't afford an attorney." And that moment, I realized to have a voice in the legal community, you had to buy it. And that was not justice for all.
Yeah.
And that didn't seem right. So at that moment, I decided I was going to be the voice for all the people in the legal world who didn't have one in the judicial system.
So what does that look like now? That, I think many people would say that's so impactful. How has that been woven into your practice and your experience over the last, how many years have you practiced now in Northwest Arkansas?
Yeah, so I've been practicing for 20 years, a little over 20 actually, maybe 21, here in Northwest Arkansas, and really in all of Arkansas, but obviously my focus has been here in Northwest Arkansas. And that did impact me because that was my passion, was to bring justice for everyone. So when I first graduated law school, the first job I took was a public defender for every misdemeanor
Oh, wow.
in Washington County. If you needed an attorney and you could not afford one, you got one public defender, and that was me. And I did not have a desk. I did not have an assistant. It was just me. And so I took all of the misdemeanors for Fayetteville, Springdale, Prairie Grove, Elkins, West Fork, and some Farmington.
That was a lot.
It was a whole lot. But at the same time, it was invaluable experience, especially for a baby attorney. I tell people it was baptism by fire because you get thrown in there and you're having trials all the time. You're having hearings, bench trials or whatever. And, I would have 30 to 40 cases a day. And I was in court about 4 days out of 5 every week. And then I also had my private practice. And in my private practice, I was doing some misdemeanor work as well, some criminal in general. But I was also handling every other kind of case you can imagine. I was doing some real estate work, some mechanics liens, some evictions, personal injury, everything you can think of, which in turn ended up being exactly what I needed because the bench that I'm running for covers every single kind of case I've mentioned.
I want to talk to you about that. Judge John Threet is retiring. I think a lot of people here in Northwest Arkansas know him, respect him. He's been a wonderful judge. You can remember when you wanted to become an attorney, but what was it about deciding to run for judge right now? And where you may have, you have a practice and you practice law and have clients and that sort of thing. But of course, were you to win, that would completely shift everything. So, why do you want to become the circuit judge?
No, that's a great question. And first, let me start by saying, yes, there are many people that know and respect John Threet. He is a very funny judge. We all appreciate his humor, but he's also very connected. He's very involved in the community, which I very much respect, and I expect to do the same. I think we deserve that out of our judge. So I will be carrying that same passion and mentality to be connected to the community that I serve. So to tell you why, let me tell you a story. My husband and I currently, and for the last 6 to 7 years, have represented every single taxpayer in the state of Arkansas. We represent you, and you may not know that. So I'm your attorney. But we represent every taxpayer because we had 10 to 14 million of our tax dollars taken and used to bribe politicians and enrich out-of-state companies. One of them is a healthcare company. And a lot of the public did not know that. Some of those politicians were indicted, some of them went to prison. I didn't have anything to do with that. But I am the only one, and my husband, I'm the only candidate representing all of us to recover those funds. And I was in the middle of, we still are in the middle of these cases. And the Judge Gladwin on the Court of Appeals announced he was not going to seek another term. I had thought about running for appeal judge years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I had a conversation with a couple of my really close friends and my husband. And I think it is the nuance of getting down in these illegal exaction cases to the details. I'm a detail-oriented person. I love the details. And it was that, and realizing how much I really, truly enjoy that. And that's why I thought about it. And while I was thinking about it this 2025, when Judge Gladwin announced that, John Threet announced he was retiring. And I had 4 or 5 people who were already talking with me about the other come to me and say, have you considered John Threet? I said, honestly, I wasn't even looking at John Threet because I didn't know he was retiring. And second, it's not an appeal position. So I really hadn't considered that. Then I got inundated with phone calls and text messages. I heard what you were thinking of doing. You should do this. You should really do this. Because, and one person said this, because I like what you're thinking. I like what you're doing. I like your passion for justice. But why do you have to wait until it goes up on to the Court of Appeals to get it right? Why can't we start right here? And I did not have an answer for that. I thought, we can. So I have always had a passion for justice. A lot of my family will say, Wendy's wearing her justice hat, which is maybe not that fun for everyone. But I have a really deep sense of fairness, of justice, of honesty, of impartiality. And I think it's because of the way I grew up. Because having experienced what feels like an injustice, I want to be able to give that to other people. For me, the last 20 years, I've been handling cases where I represent individuals. But to be able to take that passion for justice and that attention to detail and that just truly enjoying the law to the bench for the entire community is what made me decide I'm the right one for this bench.
So you briefly touched on it a second ago regarding the cases that a circuit judge would see. So, and you mentioned this before we started, there's, different divisions, and each division, I guess, handles particular cases. So the one that you are running for, what does that look like? What type of cases?
Yes, so that's a great question, because initially this bench was Judge Story's bench.
Okay.
And a lot of people in the community will remember that. He handled felonies. Okay. And his bench covered 100% criminal law. When he retired, Judge Mark Lindsay took a great portion of those criminal cases, and Judge Joanna Taylor. John Threet ran for Judge Story's position. And I think as the community, we all assumed that was going to be criminal law because he was a prosecutor for 20 years or more, actually. So all of John Threet's background was criminal law. But then when he won, he ran unopposed, he didn't get a single criminal case. And so I say that because these percentages on the bench, they can change, and they do. Right now, we just implemented a new percentage for Division 2 beginning January 26th.
Okay.
And January 26th, which is right now, obviously, John Threet's bench will cover 15% family law.
Okay.
Which, domestic relation cases, those are divorce, guardianships, adoption, those type of things. A very small percentage of the docket.
Okay.
And then it covers 20% civil, 25% civil commitment, and 25% probate. And a lot of people also don't know what civil commitment is. And unless you've been there and done it,
so what is that?
then you wouldn't know. A civil commitment is a situation where someone might have a mental defect or disease that affects them to the point where they are a threat to themselves or others.
Okay.
So in those situations, the law gives us an ability to involuntarily commit them for a period of 72 hours to make sure that they are, safe or whatever, to kind of get them restored back to whatever, the situation may entail. Maybe they need their medication, they haven't taken it. Maybe they need some counseling. Maybe they need, whatever the situation may be. But that's a civil commitment. And it's kind of a unique area of the law. If you don't practice that, or you haven't practiced that, you might not even know about that. And then, like I said, it covers probate, which, your wills, your trust, some guardianships as well, and that sort of thing. And civil. And civil can cover a wide variety. So this bench is a civil jury trial bench. I was kind of surprised to find out the other day that I'm the candidate. I have civil jury trial experience in the state. And, there's only one candidate that does, and it's me. But that civil docket can cover contract disputes, personal injury, medical malpractice, like we said earlier, mechanics liens, commercial litigation, any kind of property line disputes. Those are big in Arkansas. There's a huge variety there. So when I say that this bench has covered many things, it has, but I also have experience in all of those and any type of case law that it covers.
So right now, with your practice, what type of cases? And you mentioned a few, and are you also in front of a judge a lot with your practice right now? And trial, what does it look like right now?
Sure. So my practice right now, and as over the years, I've done everything you can do, like I said. So the last few years, we've really focused on illegal exaction. So I mentioned that one that we have, which is a class action. And then we also have a case that spans 6 different counties, which is an additional illegal exaction case. We represent over 60,000 citizens in those Northwest Arkansas counties, where it's kind of named the $18 fee or the $18 tax, which ironically, my husband was on to interview with Paul Harrell a few years back about.
So that'd be a while back.
Yes, and it is still going. We have the illegal exaction, that is the state case that covers the entire state. We've been up now for the second time on appeal.
Wow.
Which takes a lot of work and a lot of man hours. And a lot of briefing and digging through thousands of documents. But we are up now for the second time in front of the Supreme Court. We've been there. The case originated in Benton County with Colonel Jim Parsons. Lovely gentleman he stands for justice. So he's the class rep on that. And we had our first trial what isn't a trial? We had our first hearing in Benton County. And the circuit judge ruled against us, and saying that we hadn't proven that there was any bad action by the state officials. That was appealed up, and we were able to solidify at the Supreme Court that, in fact, a specific case, Nelson, is good law, and it shows that we are able to recover funds from third parties, whether there's been bad actions by the state or not. Which was a question in the law. We all knew we had a constitutional right under Article 16 to bring a class action or to fight for our taxes back if the government wasn't doing that. The Arkansas Constitution allows us that. Not every constitution, not every state constitution allows us that. So, but we were able to stand before the Supreme Court and do oral arguments. Then it got kicked back down. And then we worked the process again at state level, where there was a motion for summary judgment based on some agreements that the Attorney General and other parties had made, and whether that, in essence, takes away the taxpayers' rights to continue forward collecting those. That's one. As you can see, these are very complex cases. And then we have the other, which is a 60,000 residents, the $18 fee, where there was a municipal entity that was charging $18 to collect waste and remove it, or remove waste from residents, and deposit it at the neighbor's landfill. The problem with that is the landfill had been closed for years. The municipal district had no waste hauling machinery, and this $18 tax was supposed to go on for 27 years. So we've been able to stop that and create, going forward, there won't be a collection, but we're trying to recover the funds that were already collected.
Mhm.
So my practice right now looks a lot like briefing the nuances, looking at the details, constitutional statute. I mean, we're
Mhm.
scouring the Constitution, we're scouring the statutes, we're working to find the statute that's going to apply, I guess is the
Mhm.
best way to say. So, and in fact, one case we brought, the $18, we were going at that particular case with the mindset that it's an illegal tax, and it is, and it's a legal exaction because that cannot be collected because there's no services being
Yeah.
provided. In the midst of that, I was able to find a statute that says if one entity is collecting a fee, you may not collect a second fee. So in some of these counties,
Yeah.
the city was picking up the trash and charging the fee.
It doesn't surprise me that, Wendy, honestly. I mean,
It was sad because if they
yeah.
didn't pay, they would place a lien on the
Yeah.
resident's property.
Terrible.
So there's no due process, and
Yeah.
you're being, your property is basically being
Yeah.
taken without
Yeah.
notice.
Yeah. That's
So it's looked a lot like that.
Uh-huh.
In the midst, I'm still taking your,
Yeah.
your DWIs, your simple
Mhm.
custody cases or
Yeah.
whatever, simple
Yeah.
divorces, those type of things.
Yeah.
And those I work on with my husband as well, Matt Bishop,
Okay.
because we've kind of got these huge cases that we're
Yeah.
working together.
Okay.
So.
For your race, there are two other candidates.
Mhm.
And, people who are following this would say all three of y'all are qualified. And I think, at times maybe people are having, okay, well, how do we decide? Like, what do we look at? How do we decide between these three candidates? So what sets you apart? And when people ask you that, what do you tell them?
So what sets me apart is a couple things. First off, it's my experience. I will be the candidate who can tell you I've practiced for 20 years. I've handled hundreds, if not thousands of cases, especially with counting the public defender cases in there. But for me, it's not the number of cases, it's the quality of the case. There's these complex issues that I get to dig into. For instance, I have a probate case in John Threet's bench that has been going on for 7 years.
Mhm.
It's a big, convoluted, complex, archaic law. How do we apply it? Has it ever been used before? Those type of cases that I've worked on versus, maybe you can have 15 misdemeanors on one day, or maybe you've got 6 uncontested divorces, So you can rack up the numbers with these type of cases. But for me, I prefer to really get invested in my cases and in my clients. So when I'm working on your case, I'm working on your case. When I am researching this law, I'm researching that law. Like I said, I really like the details. But for instance, like I said earlier, I've also had the trial experience. I'm the only candidate who can say I've had that jury trial experience. And a trial is a lot different than a bench trial. A jury trial is a lot different than a bench trial. A trial is a lot different than a hearing. I think our community deserves a judge with that kind of perspective. For 20 years, I've been representing everyday people in everyday matters. To be able to say, I've stood right here with my clients on their worst day, on their best day, and I've shouldered that burden of that ruling, whatever that's going to be, because these rulings impact us very intimately. And what I've said before, and I believe is it can impact your family, your future, your freedom, your finances, all of those things that are very intimate to that human and very important. Because it doesn't, if I have a ruling that, in a case for you, Jenny Lynn, Jenny Lauren, it might also affect your family.
Yeah.
A lot of times
Yeah.
it could affect your career going forward. Now it's affect the place that you work and
Yeah.
whatever. And to just have that perspective and to understand that, I think is invaluable.
Yeah.
And I think we deserve that,
Yeah.
to know that the judge is not getting their feet wet on your case, and to have a judge that knows how to be compassionate when it calls for it, knows how to be firm when I need to be. And anyone who knows me knows I can do those things. I coach track and cross country just because I don't have enough to do, I guess. And in doing that, I invest in people and children all day, right? And I get to touch the lives of a whole lot of different families and understand their situations. And as a judge, I get to bring that to the bench. That's one thing I tell people is, because these races are nonpartisan, as you know,
Yeah.
we shouldn't worry about, as a judge, I shouldn't worry about what your party affiliation is, right? As a voter, you're entitled to know who we are. And sometimes that's a hard line to toe, and to figure out how to do that. So I tell people, get to know your candidate. Ask about the person, who they are, how they grew up, what's their work ethic, what are their characters, what are their values, what do they stand for? And because you can't change those.
Yeah.
You can change your party affiliation with the stroke of a pen.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Right?
Yeah.
But you can't change who you are. So, and I think that we're at a point where we need to start worrying about who we're putting in these positions and start meeting these voters and giving them that information, equipping them when they get there to the booth.
Yeah. So there's the Elkins event, the League of
Women Voters.
And then did I see one in Lincoln? Is there one in Lincoln?
There may be.
Okay. You're probably like, there's so
so
much.
many. There really
know?
is. There really is. I think, is that on the 19th? It might be the 19th.
Maybe so. I remember seeing a graphic on Facebook, and it had a ton of pictures of candidates. And so I don't know if that was, I think it includes nonpartisan races, but I'm not sure. Okay.
It does. And I am on it.
Okay. Well, so what people can do is go to your website, which is what?
runwithwendy2026.com. And they can also check my Facebook page, which is the same, Run with Wendy 2026. Or you can look up Wendy for Judge. And there's Wendy Howerton for Judge. All of those will lead them to the same places, which is my website and my Facebook or my Instagram.
Okay.
And there will definitely be posts on there about what I've got going on. There will be information on there about me in general. Feel free to ask questions. Because like I said, I think all those things matter.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to add before we let you go?
Yeah, I think we were talking earlier, and then I started going into one of my stories. But one thing I'd also like people to know is what I'm about to say, I think really matters. I am on the professional conduct committee for the state of Arkansas. So right now I'm in a position where I have to do a little bit of, I hate to call it judging. It's not judging so much as it is making big, hard decisions. In that committee, there are 4 panels, and whenever an attorney violates an ethics rule, they will come in front of those 4 panels. And I'm on one of them. And I've been there for 4 years. Supreme Court appointed me to that panel. And my committee elected me as the chair. These attorneys come in front of us, and we have to decide those decisions on, has there been an ethics rule violated? If so, what is the proper sanction? If so, is there probation? Is it a public warning? Is it not? Do we charge them a fine? Do we disbar them? These type of decisions, which are hard decisions to make. And just like I was saying earlier, I'm able to make those decisions and keep in mind the fact that this affects real live people in a very, very deep way. It's also my peers. And sometimes we need to rule on those with more authority, with more firmness. And I've been able to do that, which helps our profession, because then I'm protecting the people from, it could be an attorney who may have lost their focus. We're public servants, as judges, as attorneys, we're serving you because you've paid us, and we have fiduciary duties. And I take those all very seriously. And so, like I said, already having been in that position, I think I've had a little bit of practice at this going in. And I think that would be a great thing to have in a judge going up.
That's really interesting. Well, we wish you all the best in your race, and really appreciate you coming into Conduit.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.